What's up, world? Let me tell you about this beard growth oil I got from 12 tribes on Earth. 8 ounces of oily goodness with the nozzle that prevents sprays and spills, and soft ingredients that make it perfect addition to anyone's morning routine. From coconut to castor, all these oils are hand chosen. After using this herbal blend, the biggest thing I noticed is how soft, how strong my hair was, and how good I feel. Pick up your bottle today and make your beard the star of the show.
No. All right, y'all. We have a lot to talk about. You know, America was pretty much sold to the world as a dream, a place with all kinds of opportunity, and you can make money here. We heard it all. Streets are paved in gold. Now nobody sees it that way anymore. Even the people that profited the most out of this society no longer see it as an American dream. They'll tell you it's dead now. And as far as opportunity, shoot, there's not even enough jobs to go around for the people that are citizens. And many of these immigrants are not very honest either. They come over here and try to perpetrate like they make more money and doing better, and that's false. Some of these immigrants are in homeless shelters because they can't afford an apartment, they can't afford a home, and their incomes are really not enough to even cover rent. So, yeah, they come here and they do get work, but America's a very expensive place to live. Okay, it is not cheap to live here. So, many of them are having a hard time making it as well. So, no, look, they had to sabotage everything to keep us at the bottom. And, a lot of people see what's going on with America as judgment. A lot of people see it that way. And y'all, they're still going on and on about the rapture. I kid you not. These people are still going on and on about, oh, it's a war going on. Yeah, this is probably the perfect time we're going to be raptured. I was like, oh, some of them never give up, y'all. They never give up on that stuff. But that's out there too. I just can't stomach it right now, but I might get to it. But yeah, these folks are still talking about rapture, and all their videos now is about the war and biblical prophecy and all that stuff. So along with, oh, we're this is probably the time we're going to be raptured. I was like, wow. Some people are just diehards, I guess. Mm, yeah. Yeah, we're there, y'all. Remember, the war was spiritual for a long time. You know, I know it very much was even when I first got into the truth around 2010. It was, even then, it was very spiritual. But now it is physical. We are now at the physical part. It's still, spiritual. It definitely is, but it's now on a physical level. And I think if Donald Trump tries to implement a draft, I believe that's the time you're going to see the fighting in the streets. That's when it's going to turn physical in the streets. Right now, they're not doing it now, but if they feel they got to sacrifice themselves or their families, it's going to turn physical up in here. especially when we know Barron ain't going. Nobody, none of Donald Trump's grandchildren are going or his children. That's when I think these folks are going to turn violent out in the streets if a draft comes. And I can tell y'all they are fearing it. I see the videos. They are in deep fear of these young people being drafted. In fact, at 5:45, I got Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham said he's going to South Carolina because he's the senator of South Carolina. He said he's going down to South Carolina to let his people know that their sons and daughters need to go fight in Iran. I kid you not. And I'm going to show you that at 5:45. So y'all, when they have to do that, I think that's when everything's going to turn big time. And we'll see how well that 250-year anniversary that they got planned for the 4th of July. We'll see if that's still on. But look, I got family in South Carolina, and I sure don't want to see any of them go. I don't want to see nobody in my family go. I don't want to see nobody in your family go. The hell with that. I don't want to see nobody in any of your families go. But I think at this point, out of desperation, Donald Trump probably will do it. Some people say he won't. I'm not buying it. I think this man will do anything to save face, including sacrificing our young people. Yes, I don't put nothing past Donald Trump. Absolutely not. This man is sick in the head. Hmm. Give me my damn reparations. That's what you need to do. Instead of spending $1 billion a day on a war, you could have given us that in reparations, and it would have turned your entire economy around. You know, I had no plans on giving them anything back, but that's me. I wasn't going to give them shit. But let me tell you something. That money would have been better spent if you would have gave the reparations. You are going to have a war going on for years to come, and all kinds of coffins coming back to America. That's what's going to happen. And y'all, nobody, I have not come across one video that believes only 7 people died. Not one video. Nobody is buying this low count that the Trump administration keeps putting out there. Not one living soul is believing it. Even Iran said, I think they are up to like 3,000 of their people that have lost their life from all the bombing from the US and Israel. That's realistic. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. That's realistic. They've been bombing for 12 days. But the US wants you to believe over a 12-day period, only 7 people lost their lives. That's what they want us to sit around and believe. And who's going to believe that? But I'm glad to see nobody's buying it. They know the fatality got to be way higher than 7 people, but this is what they are telling us in the US, and they're taking us for fools. And that's why Donald Trump keeps getting on TV on a regular basis talking about we won and all that stuff. It's just irritating the hell out of me, for real. I heard 600. Miss Pam, I heard 600. So I don't know, but if we do get that number, it is not going to be from the United States. I think Donald Trump will probably say for the rest of this month it's only 7 people, which is, I'm just not believing it. I'm not. And how come we're not getting the numbers on how many injuries there were? I mean, look, every single US base in that region was destroyed. So, how many were injured? We don't know how many were injured. We don't have a real true count of how many were lost. I mean, to me, that only makes it worse. That only makes things worse. Yeah, maybe some of them MAGA nuts believe it, but I'm not buying. I'm not buying that it's that low amount that got killed, and all these bases were bombed. So you mean to tell me every single base was empty that got bombed? I'm not believing that. Not believing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet you it's going to be a lot of them going AWOL, y'all. As soon as many of them know they got to fly over there, do not be surprised if you start hearing about a lot of these men and women going AWOL. I sure won't be shocked. Yeah, I heard 600. And that's actually more realistic than 7. All right, y'all, let me share my screen. All right. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. All right.
Just when you thought this country couldn't sink any lower, Trump allows his wife, Melania, to preside at the UN Security Council meeting concerning the war in Iran. This dope who's lived in this country for over 30 years and can't speak a lick of English tried to say this: the US stands with all the children throughout the world. I hope soon peace will be yours. This is right after her husband and Netanyahu just ended the lives of over 150 little children in Iran. Here's their graves being dug, little graves. And when Trump was asked about the war, he responded by saying, "Have you seen the ballroom? It's really starting to shape up." And then when he was pressed on what about the US servicemen who were killed, he responded by saying, "The curtains in the ballroom are looking beautiful."
Last message of the day. I'm going to end this on a sour note. America, it's already over. It's already done. America's finished. The only thing is you just don't know it yet. You won't realize it until the bombs start dropping in America or the power goes out from an EMP and it never comes back on. It's all finished. The America that you knew is done. The people just don't realize it yet. It's all over. God loves you. I love you.
The America that we had is done. It's over. The idea of America is still alive. It never really came to its full potential. The America we knew is over. Trump has done so much damage to America that it'll be felt for generations to come, even if we were to get him out of office right now. The attacks in Iran have just solidified that we will no longer be the world superpower. I want to be very clear, though. I love America. I'm a veteran. I absolutely love America. I don't like our administration. I don't like Trump. I'm not even a fan of the government, But I like the people because that's what America is. It's the people of America. This war is not going to end well, regardless of how it ends. It's not going to end well. The best we can hope for is that we get Trump out. And even then, we still have all our work ahead of us. The Constitution's a great start, but it did not prevent somebody like Trump coming in and ruining 200 plus years of a country. I mean, it took him a little over a year to totally screw over America for the next 30 years. So if we go to rebuild, if we can rebuild, what does that look like? How do we rebuild? And I've thrown some ideas out there in the past, but I want to add a few more. We cannot ever allow one person to have this much power ever again. Ever. They weren't supposed to have this much power in the first place, but due to the lack of spine in Republicans in the Congress and the Senate, they've allowed Trump to have this power. So how do we fix that? I've addressed that in a few other videos, but mainly it's going to come down to competency. You have to be competent. You have to be qualified, and we can work out the details on that to hold any office. You have to be proficient in the skills that you're trying to be in charge of. But the big part, the big issue has to be when we go to rebuild, has to be priorities. And what I mean by that is priorities of people over everything else. The priorities of the American people. Like, what do they need? That has to be the scale at which we use to judge any rule, law, program, any of it. It has to be, does it benefit the American people? We're going to have to be people over profits all the time. Like, that has to be the standard for which we judge. I really genuinely hope we get the chance to rebuild America, rebuild it into maybe what it could have been. I don't know if we're going to get that chance. The things that are concerning me right now with Iran is I guarantee they're not being truthful about how many people, American citizens, have been injured or killed. If they're covering that up, they're covering up how bad it really is. The other part that concerns me is China. I'm not worried about them attacking us by any means, but they're going to feed Iran. And I get that, don't get me wrong. And then as America stumbles and falters, China is going to be there to pick up the pieces. China will be the new world superpower. And I think that's going to happen regardless how this plays out. And if you don't like that, you can thank Donald Trump, because he caused all of this, and his supporters allowed it to happen. The rest of us have been screaming from the rooftops how horrible Trump is. The only thing that this Trump administration actually has going for it is how incompetent they fucking are. Like, that is the only bright side to them, because if they were competent, they could have accomplished way more of their evil plan than what they've done. But on the Iran issue, their incompetence is going to screw us all over. They didn't think it through. They didn't plan it out. They didn't have a battle plan. They just went in with no idea how to actually end it. Regardless how this ends, I just hope there's enough of America left to rebuild something.
And I'll say it as bluntly as I know how. The American empire is over. We're done. We peaked about 12, 15 years ago, and we are on a down. And it's very hard for the American people, which I understand. I am one. It's hard to get your head around that. We've had a century of on the way up, which is a lot more fun than on the way down. But it does happen to every empire. We're only the latest. Look at the British, how far they've fallen. We're in that process. So the problem with the trickle down is, yeah, there might be more jobs, but they're going to be created in China. They're going to be created in Brazil. They're going to be created in India. They're not created here.
How do you compare this moment of slashing, particularly in the federal government, to say the 90s when Bill Clinton did something somewhat similar?
Right.
Is this just a partisan disagreement, or are there substantive differences?
No, again, and I know this is difficult for people to hear. This is a cut based on desperation. This is an economy that is indeed, we have the greatest level of corporate debt this country has ever seen, off the chart, the greatest level of personal debt, and we have the greatest level of government debt. Our government debt is now trillions of dollars greater than our annual output. That was not the case in the 20th century. It is the case now. What you're seeing is desperation politics. The whole Trump phenomena ought to say to you, wait a minute, these jerky moves that are out of whack, right? In recent days, we have seen the decision of the Trump administration to kiss the war in Ukraine goodbye. We're not doing that no more because we can't afford it. We can't keep funding a war, which, by the way, the West is losing, as anybody who pays attention knows. All of these things are signs of what? Of a country that is in trouble and is it turning on its friends because it can to save itself. We're going to take over, we're going to get your energy for nothing. We're going to, make you build the wall, Hugh, in Mexico. Look what the genius in a way of Mr. Trump is that without understanding it, because clearly he doesn't, he feels in his own way, the way lots of people do, that there's something that necessitates going way beyond what has been done because our need as a society is beginning to show up. Look, let me give you a simple example. The best electric vehicles in the world right now, by uniform global agreement, are produced by something called the BYD Corporation, which probably most folks have never heard of, which is Chinese. BYD, the initials, BYD. They make the best quality, cheapest electric car and truck. All right. You don't see them anywhere in the United States. Why not? Because Mr. Trump put a 27% tariff on them, and Mr. Biden raised it to 100%. So
there's a reason why this war with Iran feels so confusing. So let me cut right through it. My name's Adam. I used to be in the CIA, and we've been doing daily updates on the war. Today, I'll give you the facts from the last 24 hours, but then I'm going to give you the tools to understand strategically why this war is spinning out of control. So here's what you need to know. Last night, the Iranians hit Azerbaijan's international airport. More explosions reported in Abu Dhabi. The UAE continues to be the hardest hit in the region. There's footage claiming to show Iranian ballistic missiles over Jordan. Iran hit the primary oil refinery in Bahrain, which is still on fire, and a missile struck near a U.S. naval installation. A U.S. Navy sub sank an Iranian warship off the coast of Sri Lanka. And finally, U.S. CENTCOM is requesting support for another 100 days of Iran operations. So that's what happened. Now here's why it matters. This is no longer a contained operation between Israel, the U.S., and Iran. This is now a regional conflict involving 17 countries, and those in charge of American strategic policy are fundamentally unequipped to handle it. They've also spent the last 15 months undermining our diplomatic readiness and our relationships with global allies, both of which are necessary to prosecute this kind of war. Consider, Trump fired dozens of senior career diplomats. Several strategic posts in the Middle East have been vacant for over a year. He fired more than 1,300 State Department employees, many of whom were Middle East and counterterrorism experts. They dismantled USAID, an agency that should be playing a critical role in navigating the conflict and post-conflict environments. Kash Patel also fired a dozen agents and staff from the FBI's counterintelligence unit specifically tasked with monitoring threats from Iran. I know firsthand that Iran has a very capable intel service that has networks and cells all over the world. We haven't even seen those networks activated yet, but terrorism, sabotage, assassination, it's all on the table. When we stack all of this together, a bigger picture emerges, a picture of incompetence, lack of planning, and an inability to understand, even intellectually, the scale of the crisis they've created. That's why this conflict is spinning out of control, and this is where our alliances will be critical. Right now, the European allies are hesitantly supporting us. The French sent fighter jets, the Dutch sent warships, even the Ukrainians, they're sending drone teams. All of this despite repeated disrespect from the Trump administration over the last year. Because even if our leaders don't understand it, our allies do. They recognize this moment is critical, and they are attempting to protect, stabilize, and de-escalate. On the other hand, Trump, Hegseth, Rubio, Noam, Patel, all of them, they failed in their duty to act in the best interest of the American people. In only 5 short days, they unilaterally committed us to a massive regional war. This dwarfs Iraq or Afghanistan in complexity and in scale. And when we look at who's in command, who's making decisions, and who's working with our allies, we see a team of Fox News hosts, podcasters, Nepo babies, billionaires, and Mar-a-Lago influencers. And in charge of all of them, at the head of the table, is a calloused and diminished president who spent more time with Jeffrey Epstein than he did planning for war with Iran.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that feel it's over. And as far as, oh, starting over, there is no starting over. There is no reset because when these people say reset, they want to start all over and remain in power. And that's not how this is going to work. We already know that. This is it. There are no more bites on the apple, Esau. There are no more bites. You took all the bites you needed to take over these last few centuries. Once the fall comes, y'all, remember, we immediately become the head. There is no time in between. Their fall is our rise. So when they fall, we are at the top. They are at the bottom. There is no 3 more years or another year for them or 2035 and all that crap. No, the switch is immediate. It's immediate. So once they fall, we are automatically on top, ladies and gentlemen. It is written. So they are on the verge of fully collapsing. And all we got to do, my brothers and sisters, is get the hell out of the way and let them fall. It is not up to us to save them. Because in all these centuries, they did not save us. So why should we save them? No. Mm-mm. So they are not getting any more time. And really, when you hear them talk about this reset and stuff, they're scared. They're scared. And they should be. You know, even in these final days, you're still doing people rotten. You're still being rotten to people. So, yeah, you can't do all of this stuff and then expect good to come your way. It doesn't work that way. So yeah, they are in deep fear of what's coming. They know what Donald Trump is doing is wrong, but you notice nobody is standing up hard against Donald Trump. You notice that? None of the citizens are, nobody in the Senate, nobody in Congress. No one is taking a hard stand against Donald Trump. The only thing they're doing now is whining all over social media. That's all they're really doing. They're just whining about it, but nobody is really doing anything about it. You know why? No matter how bad it becomes, they still remain on code. They still remain on code. Yeah, you can't. How do you? It's just like when Donald Trump is trying to do the ceasefire. How do you walk back all of the damage that you've done? You can't. You can't walk this stuff back now. That's why some people are even mocking him for trying to scream for a ceasefire. So no, you notice how the Most High is speeding this stuff up. It's really speeding up. And he's really using Iran to take down two of the most powerful countries on the earth, the US and Israel. And like I said, when this whole thing is said and done, nobody is going to look at these two countries in the same way again. Nobody is going to fear them again. Nobody is going to, step down. People are really going to step up to these two countries. And these folks aren't ready for it. I'm telling you, they're not ready. They're going to crumble when the world start turning their backs on them. And that's exactly it's starting to happen now. It's starting to happen now. I see a lot of people from foreign countries talking about this. Nobody's got a single thing good to say about America. Not one country says, you know what, America, we got your back. Nobody is stepping up to have America's back. And that is very, very telling. You know what that means? That many of these countries never liked you in the first place. They probably halfway dealt with you because of money, or some advantage they could get out of dealing with America. But at the end of the day, they are not coming to have your back. I haven't seen no country online say, you know what, we're going to give the US a hand, or we're going to back America up. In fact, Canada just dragged America this morning. Canada just got in the media and dragged America. Says it all. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I have another live coming, and we're going to talk about Iran and what I told you a little earlier, that they're going to start going after U.S. banks, power grid, and water supply, because the U.S. did that to them. So they're doing this to retaliate on the U.S. for ruining their banking system. Israel and America bombed their banks over there, and also used cyber attack, and the Iranian people no longer have access to their bank accounts. And the war, some of the country don't have power, so they're going to return the favor back on America. And I really truly believe they're going to make good on it. One thing about Iran, when they made other threats on America, they made good on them, and they're going to make good on this one too. So, y'all, I will see you later. My next live is at 5:45. So I will see you then. Shalom, family.